Good afternoon. How
Yeah,
are you doing today?
I am doing well. Good afternoon. Hello. I feel like
Hello.
I've just switched into a very professional greeting, but that's just how I feel today. Very professional, I
Perfect.
guess.
I'm
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm the opposite. We're definitely very a lot of different things going on here today. We have a son home, a little sick, so feeling better hopefully, but still not able to go back to daycare. So a lot of childcare juggling today, but a lot of fun. I guess switching between work and a lot of Moana is really the big thing of the day. Big topic for today. We just saw I don't think it wasn't a recent announcement, it's more of a reminder email came out that responsive search ads will be fully had transitioned over. So expanded text ads are no longer going to be either creatable or editable. So that's pretty much that for old expanded text ads in accounts. So yeah, just wanted to talk a little bit about that today, what that means, kind of what responsive search ads in 2022 really means. So there's we got the keyword plug in.
We're not keyword stuffing, we're just sliding it in.
Yeah, but yeah, no, seriously, where are responsive search ads for the people who are migrating over from expanded text ads? What that means and how to use them properly. So take it away. Tell me a little bit about what are responsive search ads.
Yeah, so in comparison to expanded text ads, responsive search ads are really the keyword is responsive. So with expanded text ads, you had a couple headlines, a couple descriptions, and the final URL destination. And responsive search ads are a little bit different, and they give you quite a few more headlines, quite a few more descriptions, and they allow Google to mix and match depending on whatever Google sees as most relevant and fit for the user that they're serving the ad to. So I know there's been a lot of hubbub, and we have had this discussion multiple times whether it's just a really vocal minority or if really a lot of people are seriously panicking over Google getting rid of expanded text ads. It's a little hard to say because I feel like the potentially vocal minority and so consistently grumbly about this. So for full transparency's sake, my first experience with Google Ads and when I started learning about Google Ads is when they introduced responsive search ads, which I think was in like 2018. So I've known nothing other than responsive search ads. I have always used them and learned off of them. So I think it's really interesting to see a lot of panic around the usage of this and transitioning strategies to it. So I don't know what your experience has been when you first got started, but have you felt the panic?
I think it's interesting because, it's, I think you had called out earlier that it was 2018 that responsive search ads were first deployed. And like you mentioned, it feels like forever ago. I'm kind of surprised it was even, that recently. But yeah, we've been using these for years. So honestly, I think this is just one more step in Google's push to kind of fully automate it and trying to use as much machine learning as possible. So it's really not a surprise. And honestly, responsive search ads have given us better performance for the most part for a lot of years. One of our standard practices is coming into a new account. Typically, we'll come in, we may see some of those older expanded text ads in there. And one of the first things we do is just go ahead and create a responsive search ad. At first, just to make things easy, we run it alongside the expanded text ad and use mainly the same headlines and descriptions that were in that original expanded text ad, and then just add on a bunch more as well. And I would say almost exclusively, we see better performance with that new responsive search ad that we put in over the older expanded text ads. Because as you mentioned, it's not only Google finding out which headlines and descriptions work best, but also which ones work best for the particular user. So they may use different combinations depending on what they know about the user and what the user searched for. So that's it really is a really powerful tool, and I think it's probably been a long time coming. So hopefully, the people who have been holding out, maybe we can just give a little bit of additional confidence that don't worry, this is going to help you. Let's transition today. We'll talk a little bit about how best to transition, but this is going to be a good thing. So the first thing, as we're kind of transitioning into this, and again, hopefully, this transition is only going to yield you better performance. I think the first place, like I just mentioned, to start is to start with wherever your expanded text ad was. So just take the headlines and descriptions out of your expanded text ad, and those can be the first. I think the old expanded text ads, you get 3 headlines and 2 descriptions. Now in the new responsive search ads, you can go up to 15 headlines and 4 descriptions. So just make your first 3 the ones that you previously had. And then we can go ahead and start adding some new ones in as well. It's really going to help you to test out some new things and see if, maybe there is some new creative that, really is going to perform better. So that would definitely be my first piece there. Also, I would say maybe avoid the urge. I can imagine some people coming over and just putting in only the 3 headlines and 2 descriptions and then pinning everything. So with that pin feature, you actually can lock things in and say, hey, this is the headline that I always want to show up in spot 1. So in that way, you could almost turn it into an old expanded text ad. But I'd say, give Google that leeway. Let them switch things around. Even if you think that, hey, the brand name first and then the description of the product is best, maybe don't pin either and just see what happens, or only pin that brand name first and then let kind of the rest of the headlines kind of float if you need to pin something. So that would be my big kind of starting point, would be start where you're already at, bringing over the expanded text ad, and then maybe don't pin too much.
Yeah, and I agree with making sure you use as many of the headlines and descriptions as possible. I make it my best practice to use every single option given to me and fill out every headline and fill out every description. And one reason I think that's incredibly important is because language and people are not static, they're fluid, they change, trends change, they come and go. Even within industries that have been around forever and you feel like there's nothing new going to happen, the way that people talk about them can be different, especially, with social media now. We're introducing so many new but like buzzwords and catchphrases and meme speak. It all changes the way that we talk about things. So I think it's really important to maximize your creativity, figure out how people are talking about stuff, and give Google as many options as possible to be able to mix and match and really reflect that back to the user.
So Google, I think we were talking last time we spoke about how in Performance Max, you're getting those performance ratings on individual headlines and descriptions a little bit earlier. However, a lot of times in responsive search ads, especially for the smaller brands we work with, it'll take a very long time to get enough impressions in that Google will give you those performance ratings. I think they call for about 5,000 impressions over the last 30 days. So if you're not getting a ton of traffic, not getting a ton of impressions, it can be tough to get up to that number. So one of the things I like to do is to consolidate. So rather than have 3 different responsive search ads, which I think is actually the best practice that Google suggests now, I like to start with just 1 responsive search ad, because you're already adding in 15 different headlines and descriptions for it to flip through. So if you have a campaign or an ad group that's getting kind of a lower number of impressions, maybe try to consolidate those responsive search ads to get yourself up to that 500 or 5,000 impression threshold. Better to have, or at least my take, I don't know that I've seen this in Google documentation, but my take would be, better to have 1 responsive search ad with 5,000 impressions as opposed to 2 each with 2,500 impressions. That's not giving you that performance rating.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another thing to keep in mind when you're creating these responsive search ads is to make sure that it's matching what you actually are sending to the consumer. So once they click on your ad and they land on your landing page or your website, does the copy of the text in the ad match what is in your landing page or website? And I think it's kind of funny that people are surprised that Google's ad strength is really based on this. So I always recommend directly copying the copy from the website and landing page into your headlines and description copy. And that will give you the best ad strength possible, because Google's really looking to send people to the most relevant and best websites that they can. So if what they're seeing in the ad is really what they're showing up to on your website, that's just all the better for your customer and for you, but really for the customer journey. They want to make sure that they're not wasting their time with their clicks. So that's kind of a tip that I always give people, is make sure you're matching copy directly into the headlines and descriptions, which can feel a little bit lazy. But honestly, if people are searching for exactly that keyword, that's what they want. They don't want extra flowery language, especially if they're trying to solve problems or look for services. They just want to get straight to the point. So I always feel like it's cleanest to try that. And then another big piece of it is making sure that you're including those popular keywords within your headlines and descriptions. So once again, that just makes your ad relevancy and your ad quality so much better. So just make sure you're folding all of that into the copy itself.
Definitely. Yeah, it's almost like an SEO play, right? It's making sure that you have the information that best matches the customer or the client coming in. Have that right there in both your copy and then your ad and then the keyword that you're trying to match to, kind of putting all those together. Obviously, this isn't organic, but it's important to remember that where you get in the ranking is a function not only of your cost per click or essentially how much you're bidding for each individual ad auction, but also that quality score. So in some ways, even though this isn't organic traffic, almost like your organic ranking does really, really factor into this, and ultimately, can drop your cost per click quite a bit and help to make your ads a lot more profitable. Another thing I like to do in terms of coming up with some new ideas. So as you're trying to fill out that 15 and have enough options for Google to test out and optimize across, is actually came from a Google article, but they give a couple examples of different behavioral biases that you can try to hit on. So it's always types of things I would never think necessarily to put into an ad headline. But we can link this article in the show notes. Some of the options they give are the power of free. So any offer you have, if it's a free giveaway, a % off, free shipping even, make certain that that's in a headline. That's definitely going to be really, really big. Authority bias. So sometimes if you have a particular influencer who's really big in the space, you can drop their name right into a headline and, say, we were talking about Elon Musk before we hopped on. You say, Elon Musk loves this potato chip. So, make sure that you get that in there. If it's true, obviously, don't run into any copyright violations there. Or social proof. You can always say like, hey, 100% of moms or 98% of moms choose this particular baby formula or prefer this particular baby formula. Which can really help to kind of, put the consumer into kind of a group and help them to kind of understand, how other people in the group they identify themselves in are enjoying this product, even if they haven't tried it yet themselves. So, well, it's nice too, in the context of RSAs, where a lot of those things, they're maybe a little bit out there. Sometimes you probably wouldn't necessarily think to try one of those headlines or descriptions if you only had 3 or if that was guaranteed to be in the ad every time. But as an experimental piece, why not, throw it in there and see how it performs.
Yeah, I think that's the big case that Google's trying to make for everybody is that testing is where it's at. And when you're using the same formulas and the same really small box structure of maybe expanded text ads or like, some of their older products, you're not really giving yourself room for more testing, especially in the creative space. So as a person who really loves creative, I'm excited for those extra opportunities to plug in new copy or new images or new video. Whereas I know some people find that it's going to be more of a burden. It's going to be more of an issue. But I think if you really want to utilize the power of Google Ads, you really need to jump into this space and really take on responsive search ads to the fullest extent that you can.
As I'm hearing us go through all this, I'm realizing that the accusations of being Google shills is about to come out here. We do work in this every day. We love it, but there are certain things I don't like about Google Ads. Don't worry. Maybe we'll do a video next time with 10 things we would change about Google Ads.
Yeah. We're not getting paid by Google. It would be nice, but
yeah.
They're not sending us any checks.
Next time.
Yeah.
You hear that, Google?
Yeah.
I'm sure they're listening in.
You're right. I'm sure.
Awesome. Well, cool. Let's, I think that was a great kind of coverage of responsive search ads. Hopefully everybody's using them already, but if this was a surprise to you that you're going to have to transfer over, hopefully this brought some value. And even if you have been using them, hopefully this was a little bit valuable for you. So with that, I think it's time to switch over to what's good.
What's good? I just said it randomly last time and we just felt it worked. So it's here to stay for now.
Hey, we're an actual, I don't know if it's either, I was about to call this a podcast. We're like an actual video series now. We have named sequences. We have a whole thing. We have our own segments. This is perfect.
Yeah, it's feeling pretty official over here.
Definitely. We'll keep working on it. We're just going to keep getting better and better.
Yeah, yeah. So what's good over in Andy's world?
I'm glad you sent me first because I'm sure you're going to definitely have a much better one. I could not come up with anything today, so there's a lot good in my life. Don't let me. That sounds terrible when I say I couldn't come up with anything. But so kind of a cop out. Going to the warmer weather out here. We've been getting out for a couple of good golf rounds recently. So you got some bright days, a little bit warmer. Get out for some golf. It's a really tough not to be happy this time of year. So really excited to enjoy this good spring weather.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. The more we're getting outside, the happier we're going to be at this point. So I don't think that was a bad one. Mine is actually really similar. So like if you were relying on me to come do something totally different, that's not happening. In line with the spring themed appreciation, my partner Brian has been getting into gardening, which has been a bit of a surprise because neither of us has been into that ever. So he's been growing herbs and vegetables, and recently we planted a whole bunch of pollinating wildflower seeds out in front of our house and along the side, and they are actually starting to spring forth and bring green little baby flower seeds. So I'm really, really excited because I don't ever notice that kind of thing until it's like smacks me in the face and I'm like, oh, spring is here or winter is here. So it's been really fun to watch that progression from planting a seed and watching it germinate to watching it grow. So we've been able to use some of the herbs in cooking, which has been really fun. But yeah, I'm really excited to see these wildflowers come into bloom and bring some bees and butterflies.
I think I have an idea of where you got those pollinator seeds from. Shout out to our client, the Living Seed Company, that sells a perfect little. If you want to take advantage of those beautiful little wildflowers, livingseedcompany.com. I think that's right. I hope that's right.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to get the actual link on the screen here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not too late. No matter what they say, it's not too late. You can plant anytime you want to. It just might not actually grow. So, we're just, taking it as it comes. And if we fail, we fail. But it's been really fun to watch some of the success happening.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's really, I'm sure it's a fun thing to kind of watch it come up. Awesome. Well, I think that's it for today. So, Lindsey, have yourself an awesome end to the week, and we'll catch up next week.
You too. Bye.